What up, everybody on YouTube? So this video is going to be very similar to my last one, where I just talk about a bunch of random stuff. Some of it boxing, some of it not. The first thing I would like to talk about is, where have I been? In all honesty, I had every intention of making videos the past couple weeks. But for those of you who don't know, I do live in Florida, and I had to make a change of plans because of Hurricane Irma. And I wasn't, I wasn't greatly affected by it, to be honest, but it did affect my ability to be on YouTube. I did evacuate when I got back. I had no internet. Apparently my power was out for like 3 days. So, but by the time I got back from my evacuation, power was back on. And, but I had no internet. Nobody in my area had internet or cable or anything. So, it turned out that in my instance, like some of my equipment got fried. I didn't know it. And actually today the cable guy has come. Don't worry, he didn't take me to no medieval times. He didn't try to kidnap me or anything like that. Some of y'all get the joke, some of y'all won't. But he came and he did a good job. He got me up and running and everything. As y'all know, I do everything on my phone, and my phone, for some reason, on data, does not like to let me shuffle things around between Dropbox and the different things that I have to use to make my videos. So I just said, screw it, I'm just not going to make no videos until I got my internet up and running. And like I said, I didn't realize my equipment was actually fried. So I was waiting for the internet to come back up in my area. Apparently it's been back up, and they just now fixed my replacing my equipment, because there wasn't no fixing it. It was gone. But that's where I've been, So back to trying to make videos, because I had absolutely no cable. And to be honest, boxing was the last thing on my mind, because, it was more my focus was on how to get food. For a little while, it was very difficult to find meat. It was very difficult to find any kind of perishable goods. A lot of stores were limited to, non-perishables like cereal, drinks that didn't have to be refrigerated, such as soda, things like that, water, which water was still hard to come by, just because everybody was buying it like it was going out of style. So it was, a lot of my time was dedicated more to trying to eat better, because I'm not a big fan of non-perishables, to be honest. I like, my food to be less preservatives. Not saying that frozen food and the meat you get, is preservative free, but, if it comes in a can, there's preservatives, more than likely. So, also, it affected my job. So I had to, essentially I ended up having to use more time for work as well. It was a lot. It just made things very difficult. So And like I said, I probably could have made videos sooner, just I had no internet. And I have the internet on my phone, but which, that allowed me to comment on y'all's videos and stuff, but it's like I said, it doesn't like to send my audio files. I have to go through Dropbox. I have to move the audio files from this program to Dropbox before I can put it on my phone. So for that reason, that's why I haven't been here. So I still, till this day, have not seen the Triple G Canelo fight. I want to, and I'm going to do everything I can to watch that fight now that it seems that everything is pretty much back to normal. The internet thing was the last thing that was really keeping me from making videos. So, but now that that's taken care of, I have my cable and my internet back, and so now I'm back. Another thing I wanted to touch on real quick. Last time I talked a little bit about the situation with Jay Cotto and JR, the boxing junkie. And maybe I just didn't put everything out there the way that I should have. I think he kind of took, JR kind of took things the wrong way. He basically took it as I was saying that it's all right for others to be racist towards you. And that's not what I was saying. What I was saying, and it's like I said, I probably just didn't articulate it well enough. But what I was trying to get at is these people are trying to get a rise out of you, or they're ignorant. If they're trying to get a rise out of you, chances are they don't even think you're a Nazi. They don't even think you're racist. They just want to piss you off. And when you get pissed off, they win. But you know what makes them win even more is when you let that anger affect your friendships of the people who actually do have you, your best interests at in their own interests, and when you allow their ignorance or their trolling to affect your legitimate friendships, they definitely win. And that's what I was trying to get at is don't let them win. It's not being a doormat. It's not turning the other cheek. It's realizing that what they think about you or what they say about you doesn't mean nothing. So I noticed that day that I uploaded that video, not long after you put up a video where you simply just said, fuck you. I don't know if that was toward me. I don't know if that was toward anybody else. I don't know. If it was, I mean, sorry that you feel that way, but I do have more pressing issues. I had more pressing issues shortly after. Trust me. Wasn't easy dealing with this hurricane. But, when there's people around you who ain't got no power, when it's difficult to find good food, when somebody calling you racist just doesn't really matter all that much at that point. There's more pressing issues. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is something that I just found out recently. So, I'm sure everybody is familiar with Travis Gotti. He's a very controversial person in the boxing community. I didn't realize that he took his boxing channel down and created a new channel. And on this new channel, he's very adamant that he's not a boxing nerd. And he's very adamant to not expect him to talk about boxing all the time. And he will very rarely talk about boxing. And I just found it quite interesting because he says the reason why he doesn't talk about boxing anymore as much, because he still talks about boxing, but the reason why is because music is taking up more of his time. And there is a whole slew of videos of him freestyling. And I think he has some songs that he wrote too. I'm sorry, but it's terrible. It is just god awful. I couldn't believe, I'm like, okay, when you did your boxing thing, at least you were able to capture the casual demographic. But with his music, Travis Gotti, if you see this video, I'm sorry, but this is just terrible. All right, now, I'm going to stop hating for a second. Because, you know, I'm just joking around. I mean, it's not good by any means. I'm not saying that it's good. But here's what I'm going to say. All right. I used to write raps. I've never freestyled. So one thing I have to say is, you know, kudos to him for freestyling. Because that's just something I can't do. I got to have my lyrics on paper. I don't have to be reading it. Eventually I get to the point where I have it memorized and everything, but what I will say is this. All right. First off, I'm not someone who was ever really a big fan of Travis Gotti. When I first started watching boxing videos on YouTube, I did subscribe to him. And then shortly after, I unsubscribed because I realized what he was doing. It wasn't genuine. It was all bullshit, really. And now you could see that that's the truth, that he wasn't genuine. You know, there was people calling him a coon and all this, and then come to find out, and it was because of his criticisms of Mayweather, but he ended up coming out and telling the truth that he's actually a huge Mayweather fan. And the only reason why he did what he did is to get views. Anything that he knew that would get him views, he would do. He was a view whore. And way before he owned up to that, I unsubscribed because I could tell that's what he was doing. So, regardless, you have to admit he had a certain level of success doing that. I don't know what his final subscriber count was because I wasn't subscribed and I could give a damn about Travis Gotti boxing channel. But I do know at one time it was at least 10,000. So he hit at least 10,000 subs, and I'm pretty sure he was more than that when he deleted the channel. But I don't see him getting the same level of success with the music. All right. But another thing, I have to respect the perseverance. As garbage as his music is, and as little views as he gets in comparison to what he used to get, he is still moving full-fledged with this rapping thing. And I'll admit, some of the stuff is not as bad as some of the other stuff. He had one one that's titled like 7-minute freestyle. And to be honest, in the beginning, it's actually not bad. Only in the beginning though. Then it gets to a point where it becomes like the rest of his stuff. And here's the thing about music. Music is a very fickle thing. When you talk boxing, you know you're going to get a certain amount of support depending on what fighters you push and what fighters you criticize. You know guaranteed you're going to get a certain demographic with that. But with music, it's not so cut and dry. What was hot yesterday is not hot today and won't be hot tomorrow. That's just the way that music is, especially rap. Rap is probably the most fickle genre of music out there. And the thing is, like I said, before, I'm not gonna lie, before I was hating a little bit. But in all honesty, Travis, if you hear this, you gotta try not to be monotone. That's number one. The other thing is, you gotta mix it up with your tempo. You can't keep the same tempo with your rhymes the whole song through. It becomes boring. So learn to put some emphasis on certain words. Learn to have some punch at the end of your bars. And that will improve your delivery right there. It's funny because on the way from when I evacuated out of state, and when I was coming through Georgia, I was getting tired, so I turned on the radio. I'm not really a big fan of the music they play on the radio, because to me, it's all the same pop shit. If you go on the rap stations, it's pop rap. It's not just regular rap no more. It's all pop rap. You go on the rock station, a lot of it is pop rock. And then you go to the pop station and it's everything. Just the pop version of it. So, you know, you go to a country station. I don't even listen to country, but if you go to a country station, the country that they play now does not sound like the country that they used to play. Everything has been made into a pop version, and that's what gets played on the radio. But I was coming through Georgia, and I hear this song, and this had to be this makes Travis Gotti look like Tupac. But this song is like, I got money in the bank. I got money in the bank. I got money in the bank. It's like, people actually listen to this shit? Like, this is what's playing on the radio? Now, I'll be honest, I think that was more of a local thing, because I haven't heard none of that song over here. Then again, I don't listen to the radio a whole lot. But, you know, people who make music like that, if it becomes popular, they're usually a one-hit wonder. You can't have every song sound like that. But for real, like some real constructive criticism, mix up the tempo. Every once in a while, you're going to have to throw in some bars there that are faster than the other bars, because it mixes it up and it keeps the song from being mundane. You got to use some inflection in your voice. You want to learn how to do that? Listen to some Ludacris and take some pointers from him. Pretty much any song by Ludacris. I'm not saying that Ludacris is the best rapper out there, but he's very good at putting punch on certain words. So, those are some pointers, some constructive criticism as opposed to just the hating I was doing on Travis Gotti before. But, I mean, in all honesty, in order to be successful in the music business, it's basically you got to be the right place, the right time. And whatever fame you do get can be taken away overnight. So, but now to some boxing. Andre Ward has retired officially. He hasn't had a bad career. I would prefer for him to continue fighting because he took those belts from Sergey Kovalev, and now we don't know what the light heavyweight division is going to look like. Having an undisputed champion, just it looks more like an uncertainty in the light heavyweight division. But then again, it might be easier. It just depends on how those belts end up getting distributed. However that ends up happening, whether it be through a tournament or first contender versus next contender, fight for, however that goes down will determine how easily we can obtain a undisputed light heavyweight champion. But Andre Ward is a grown man. It's up to him when to call it quits, and he feels now is the appropriate time. So he ended on a high note with a TKO on Sergey Kovalev. Whether you agree with it or not, that's the way that it is. And unless he comes back, and Kovalev's able to get that fight again, Kovalev will never be able to rectify that. And it is what it is. I mean, I do feel like he beat Ward in the first fight. Second fight, I mean, I'm not the ref. I can't make those calls. Only the ref can. So we have to live with the ref's decision. But I mean, I wish all the best to Andre Ward. I hope that he uses the money that he made in his career to be successful after boxing. I wish him the best. Daniel Jacobs apparently signed with Eddie Hearn. That's something I didn't see coming. I think it was a very smart move because now he'll be able to fight, or actually from what I'm hearing, it's a HBO exclusive contract. And, I mean, he's doing what he thinks he has to do. I wish him all the best. We'll see, how everything goes down. Who knows? We might see a rematch with Triple G. Speaking of Triple G, I have still not seen the Canelo fight. So right now I have no opinion on it. I will say that I saw the scorecard coming, even without seeing the fight. Without seeing the fight, I feel confident in saying that I don't think 18-10 is feasible. I don't think that it's a viable scorecard. I just don't see it happening. From what I know, what I've seen from Triple G, from what I know and what I've seen with Canelo, and the fact that every fight Canelo has ridiculous scorecards in his favor, it doesn't surprise me. And I believe it when people say that is an unfair scorecard. Now, Fair Shake Boxing, shout out to him. He said that it is completely subjective, so he's not mad at it. And you know what? He's right. But I think given the track record that, versus Cotto, he had a ridiculous scorecard. Versus Khan. Khan said that he's glad he got knocked out because he feels he would have got robbed had it gone to a decision. Because they looked at the scorecards and, I'm just going to say it. I think Oscar De La Hoya, he's reaching into his pockets and he's buying these scorecards. But, as for me, I can't say who I think won yet, whether the draw was a gift or the draw was legit, until I see the fight for myself. So hopefully I'll be able to review that and give you my honest take on it. I'm going to do my best to be objective as possible. Not going to try to let any feelings toward either boxer cloud my judgment when I do give my honest review. We'll see. I'm hearing that a lot of people are saying they think Canelo did better than what they thought he would. And I will say this, I think Canelo is overrated. However, his defense is kind of underrated. Just saying, overall, he's just overrated. So, we'll see. Before anybody throws out that ridiculous ass race card, I'm half Mexican, so, and I'm not Kazakh whatsoever, so race has nothing to do with it. Being proud of your race, I think, is just something that's kind of ridiculous. Nothing wrong with being proud of who you are, but you didn't accomplish nothing to become what race you are. You didn't take a test and that determined that you're Mexican. You didn't take a test and that determined that you're black. You didn't take a test and that determined that you're Middle Eastern. You didn't accomplish nothing to get that skin tone. Your parents simply had intercourse and you were a result of that. And whatever race they were, that's the race you happen to be. So, one last thing. Back to the Travis Gotti thing. It's funny because in one of his raps, he was talking about Black Lives Matters. And when it comes to Black Lives Matters, I know that there's people who are legit, who actually want to see change. And those people I don't have a problem with. But the problem that I have with a lot of these people from Black Lives Matter, well, first off, I do think Black lives do matter. I just think that Black Lives Matter doesn't. And my main problem with the majority of the vocal Black Lives Matter people is this. A lot of them, if you were to say that you want for every black person to have equal rights, for every black person to not have to worry about being discriminated against in any way, shape, or form based on the color of their skin, but you would like for Black Lives Matter to not exist, a lot of them will get pissed at you. Now really think about that. Their allegiance is more to their bullshit movement than it is to their supposed cause. They don't give a shit about their supposed cause, because that's not their real cause. Their real cause is that they just want to complain. They want to bitch and moan about every little thing. And the fact of the matter is, if you were to address every single thing that they say is a problem and you were to solve it to the best of your ability, they're still going to be pissed. They're still going to complain. There will always be a problem. There's no light at the end of the tunnel with Black Lives Matter. I'm sorry if you feel differently, but I don't think that they are the answer to equality. All right? I'll give you a perfect example. I believe it was last winter. This woman takes her baby, who was fairly newborn. I don't remember exactly how old the baby was, but it was way too young to be out in the cold. Now, this is during the winter time. So she's at the Black Lives Matter rally with her baby, and the baby stops breathing. She runs into a restaurant trying to get help for her dying baby. And guess who's the only one who tried to resuscitate the baby? A white cop. The very same people that they're protesting. Now, you tell me, in that scenario, who really cared about the Black Life Mattering? Was it the mother of the child who very retardedly took the baby into extreme cold weather conditions? Or was it the police officer who was desperately trying to resuscitate that baby? Be honest with yourself. And that is the reason why Black Lives Matter doesn't mean shit to me. You want to prove that Black Lives Matter, then actually take care of the Black lives. Realize that prioritizing your baby and either getting a babysitter so you can go to the rally, or staying home with your baby to make sure that it is fine is how you demonstrate that Black Lives Matter. It's like I said, I know there's people who rep Black Lives Matter who are legitimate, they're genuine, and they want to see change. But they're far and few between. Far and few between. The vocal majority are a bunch of self-pitying assholes that all they want to do is complain and have a reason to complain. They don't want to solve shit. Now let the chips fall where they may. If you don't like what I said, you can unsubscribe. You ain't gonna hurt my feelings. But it's quite ridiculous to get mad when people are getting upset because you're saying Black Lives Matter. Supposedly, when you say Black Lives Matter, that's supposed to mean everybody matters. But then when somebody says all lives matter, then you want to make it out to be that they're saying Black lives don't matter. Screw your movement. I'm for the cause. To all my subscribers, anybody watching my videos, or if you just so happen to stumble on this video, I will be back hopefully tomorrow with a boxing video. That's straight up boxing. That's my goal, is to keep it mostly boxing. From time to time, I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about, but I will be bringing it back to boxing.